Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Please take your seats. Sean, you ready? Sean? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage, Sean Van Driver. Okay.
Yeah. All right, folks. I am the person between you and the man you came here to see tonight, Congressman Eric Swalwell. I won't take up too much of your time, although those of you who know me know that I sometimes I'm a bit loquacious. I got that from my mom. Look, I got to know Eric back in, I think, 2013. And for me, the hallmark of somebody's character is how they show up. Showing up, like you all did here tonight on a Friday night, is the hallmark, is the number one indicator of advocacy, right? It's the number one thing that you can do to show what you care. Eric came into town, into San Diego, to show up for one of his colleagues, a Democrat who was facing, raise your hand if you've heard of Carl DeMaio. Yeah, what do you think of him? Yeah. So, one of Eric's colleagues was running against Carl DeMaio, and Eric showed up to help him. We became friends. Eric kept showing up in San Diego. He prioritized San Diego as a region, and he showed up for my son. My son asked him for a coin when he was like 8 years old, and he delivered for him. Eric showed up for me over and over and over. He helped me help our Afghan allies. And California needs someone who's going to show up for California values, show up for every single vulnerable person in this region. We're behind, so I'm going to waste no further time and welcome to the stage our next governor, Congressman Eric Swalwell.
If our country in California are in trouble. And keep that hand up and raise your left hand if it's the most trouble you've seen in California in our country. That's my But first, I want to tell you a story about a couple from Algona, Iowa. There was a woman named Vicki. Vicki, like many of you, she worked as many jobs as she could during the day to bring home as many groceries as she could at night. Eric was the chief of police, but when he refused to fix parking tickets for a corrupt city council, he was fired. And when the floor fell out, they went where dreamers always go. It's where prospectors would put their pans in a river, expecting to find gold. Where actors go, focused on the one and not in a million. And where a Wisconsin man who had been a refugee from Syria went when he was about to have a child. California. That child named Steve. He would create a lot of jobs when he started a small fruit company called Apple. That's the magic of California. But we need a new California. The next governor of California has two jobs. One, to keep the worst president ever and his troops out of our streets and out of our lives. To build a firewall for California. Do you mind if I read you something? She said, I'm grateful that you can read. Terrible things are happening. Poor people are being dragged out of their homes. Children come home from school to find their parents have disappeared. Women return from shopping to find their houses sealed and their families gone. That describes California now, but it was also written by Anne Frank. This started with ICE agents chasing our friends and our neighbors through the fields and the factories where they worked. Then they deported a 6-year-old US citizen battling stage 4 cancer.
That's screwed up.
It's screwed up. It's a different word that I won't use because of the little girl in front of you. And then they dragged women by their hair through the streets. And last week, these masked murderers took the life of Renee Good, whose glove compartment was not filled with a weapon or a knife or a gun or an explosive. It had stuffies, stuffed animals, and a cup with Cheerios in it. Will this get worse? Of course it'll get worse if you put masked agents into our communities that terrorize people. Did you know that to be a nail technician in California, you need 400 hours of training? To be an ICE agent, you need 47 hours. Why 47? You know why.
No.
So here's what I'm going to do about it. I introduced last week legislation in Congress that strips ICE of their immunity. Strips them of their immunity. You have to go on offense with this president, or the most vulnerable in our community are on their heels and they're on defense. I also have stated as governor, the policy in this state as it relates to masks will be reveal to wheel. If you want to wear a mask and go unidentified in our state as an ICE agent or a Border Patrol agent, you're going to lose your driver's license. Good luck walking to work, assholes. And I will make sure
I will work with every prosecutor, every attorney general in the country to make sure that we max out our law enforcement authorities. If they commit crimes, we have to charge them with the crime. Because let me just tell you this, as the son of a cop, as a brother to two cops, as a former prosecutor, that's not what law enforcement looks like. And that damages the reputation and credibility that our local law enforcement deserve to have. It does. And I'm grateful to our local law enforcement who are keeping us here safe tonight. They don't operate wearing their masks and roaming around in our communities. Not in that way. So the next governor of California, first job is to keep people safe. If you can't protect them, no other policy matters. Second job is to be the CEO of lowering your costs. You know, the worst thing about this president, and it's a long list, but it's that he actually has done the opposite of what he promised you he would do. And that's okay. We've seen politicians from time to time make promises that they weren't able to keep. Sometimes it's intentional. Oftentimes they're just not able to do it. But he said he was going to lower costs on day one. He is 0 for 350. And instead of lowering costs, he put in place a stupid tariff tax that has raised our costs. I don't know about you, but when I go to Vons or Safeway and I do the grocery shopping in our house, 3 little kids, 8, 7, and 4, it's adding up. But when I get the receipt at the register, I look at it and I look at the cashier, I'm like, really? I don't know if you do the same thing, but I also know that I can't tell the cashier, well, don't worry about the $300 that you want to charge me for groceries. Put it on Greenland's tab. Or you know what? Venezuela's got this. He promised he would lower our costs, and he did the exact opposite. I will focus from day 1 to 1,000 on lowering costs. It's going to start with healthcare. 70 times since I've been in Congress, Republicans have brought votes forward to take away healthcare, and 70 times I have voted against it. Last week in Washington, D.C., I voted to put back in place the ACA subsidies that can lower all of our costs. And thank you for having our back. And so did your congressional delegation here. Scott Peters, Sarah Jacobs, Juan Vargas, Mike Levin. They showed up for you too. I promise you this as governor. My approach to healthcare will be, even when I am 6 feet under, I don't care if you're a Democrat, a Republican, a Libertarian, a Vegetarian, I will reach up from the soil and stop you from taking away people's healthcare. I understand, as somebody who represents a high-tech, biotech area, just like San Diego, that there are so many advancements right now in medicine, many of them enabled by AI, that we are so close to finding so many cures. Yet, we have a president who would tell a country where 40% of us will find out that we're diagnosed with cancer, that he's making a, ironically and cruelly, 40% cut to NIH funding. The way I see it is a budget, of course, it's a moral document, but it's also an IQ test. And it has to be the dumbest thing in the world to cancel cancer research. We should not be killing cancer research right now. We should be killing cancer. You're doing that enables that, regardless of what can we talk a little bit about housing? In California, the average age of a first-time years. We have 4 regulations on the books. Some of them are good-natured people, but I don't know if we need 1,000 new regulations on average a year. California is a blue state held down by red tape. A blue state held down by red tape. The way I see it is it should only take a couple of months to get a housing permit approved. If it takes longer than that, somebody from the governor's office should come and help you hang the drywall. On day one, I'm declaring a cost emergency and telling every agency, you have 90 days to approve or deny every outstanding housing application in the state. We're going to build houses like crazy, surge the supply, and do everything possible to lower the costs. I've always believed, from being a city councilman to working in Congress to being a prosecutor, that a goal without a deadline is a dream. And we need more deadlines and shot clocks as it relates to housing. Day one demo, that's going to be my focus, to protect and fight for Californians so that everyone in our community, particularly our immigrant community, feels safe, and the CEO of lowering costs. Finally, I think you can see here tonight, as we've had town halls from Fresno to Orange County, Los Angeles last week, we will go anywhere. We don't listen to polls, we listen to people. And tonight, you have an opportunity to ask me anything. These questions are not pre-screened. I'm grateful to Sean Van Diver, who's going to be assisting us. And Sean, if you want to come up. I also want to acknowledge here some of the local electeds. I don't know if you acknowledge them, Sean, but got a long list here. First, local congressional candidate, Amar Campa-Najjar. Amar. Yeah. I've been with Amar in many of his races and much of his advocacy, but he serves in the U.S. Navy, and I think if that's all he did, that would be enough. And he's seeking to do a lot more. Thank you, my man. Also, your district attorney, Summer Stephan, was here earlier. Thank you to Madam DA. Also earlier, Todd Hipper, trustee from the Warner Unified School District. Daniel Guerrero, president of the UC San Diego Democrats. Go Tritons, Triton Democratic Club. As I said, thank you to our local law enforcement. And I want to thank the members of Unite Here Local 30 for taking such good care of us here tonight. All right.
All right, Eric. So before we get to these very important questions, I've got a few questions to ask you. Really quick.
Yeah.
You don't need to think about it, just yes or no, or just this or that. The game is called this or that. And then we got one more game that we're going to play that we'll talk about in a minute.
I'm going to open this. This is not a beer, by the way. I'm just opening this water. Yeah. Good. Yeah.
I'm going to read out 2 options. All you have to do is pick one.
Yep.
Ready?
Yep.
All right. Warriors or Lakers?
Go Dubs.
Giants or Padres?
Go Giants. I'm not going to lie to you as governor. I'm not going to. Some people like to root for all teams in California. I will always shoot straight with you about where I stand in sports. I'm a politician.
That's right. BART or MTS?
BART's pretty. Yeah.
Napa Valley or Temecula?
Yeah, you're just messing with me. I'm gonna say Livermore Valley, where I represent.
All right.
Yeah.
Beyonce or Taylor Swift?
T Swift.
That's right.
Don't threaten me with a good time. Yeah.
In-N-Out or Happy?
In-N-Out.
Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Right? Protect
I choose care.
That's right. All right, we're gonna go to a second game. How about choosing care, everybody? Come on.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna go to a second game. And this one's called Trump or Disneyville. And while I explain the rules,
Trump or Disney villain, is that what you said?
Trump or Disneyville. Who said it?
Okay.
Trump or Disneyville.
And last week in Los Angeles, we did Trump or Taylor Swift.
Oh, Eric does not brief what we think we have. So, before I read you the rules, I need Apollo Madrigal to come up, our Vice President of UCSD San Diego Democrats. Apollo's had a lot of experience walking precincts and working on campaigns, which I did everything tonight. Here's how we'll do it. Everyone
Hey, Paul.
should have
Thanks,
received a card. Look under your chair for a card. With Swalwell for governor, one side is blue and one side is gold. The gold side,
What do you think that one's for?
this will shock you, is for the guy who has a gold gilded West Wing
And a golden toilet.
and a golden toilet.
Yeah.
So if you think Donald Trump said it, you go with the gold side. You hold the gold side up really high. If you think that it was said by a Disney villain, you hold up the blue side. So I'll give you an example. If Apollo said, quiet, piggy, notice what you would do. Okay, it seems like people figured it out. All right, Apollo, over to you, my friend.
All right, you ready, Congressman?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, round one. This is Trump. Round three. Long live the king.
I'm going to go with the crowd here. I think that's Disney. I'm going to go. Have you?
You got it right. All right, round five. Ready?
Let's do it.
Poor unfortunate souls.
Yeah. This is my daughter's favorite song, so I'm going to go with The Little Mermaid. Yeah.
Your daughter has
Yeah.
good taste. Round six. I'm a very stable child.
That's good. Yeah.
Guys,
That's not Maui from Moana, I guess.
Not quite,
Yeah.
not quite. All right, round seven. You will bow before me.
I like Disney. Yeah, it sounds Disney. I don't know which king that was.
That is Jafar,
Jafar, Aladdin. Yeah.
not our president. All right, last one.
Yep.
I think you got every single one right so far.
The crowd has been giving me a good lift here. All right.
All right, here we go. 8 for 8. I'm like a really smart person.
Except he's not. I'm gonna go with the crowd here. Thank you guys. Thanks, my man. Yeah. Thank you. Yep.
Remember, if you pulled around the lead earlier, we called the name earlier, later, Mike.
Thanks.
Are we ready?
Yeah. How you doing?
Good. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, you can. Eric, I'm 61 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm just starting to think about
Well, that's the case for most Americans. I lived in 13 different homes, and I went to 11 different schools before I graduated high school. And before my parents were able to buy a home, we lived in grandparents' home, my dad's stepbrother's house. We moved all over California, but they knew that if they could get home ownership, it would be a game changer for them. And so that's why, one, I think we have to increase the supply by, as I said, building like crazy. And I'm going to tell you the story of Dublin, California, a little bit tonight as to what I did there, and I'll get back to that in a second. 2, on homeowners insurance. We need more competition in California. I have to be honest with you, I'm not convinced that that position as it is right now, insurance commissioner, should be an elected position. I really worry that if you don't have somebody who is qualified and knows what they're doing, you could be in really bad shape as we are right now. 3, I'm willing to get really inventive on this. We have the most forest land in the country. We have high wildfire risk. We have high homeowners insurance. We have high material costs when it relates to construction, and we have the highest unemployment in the whole country. What I would like to do is, if it's possible, to bring, and using the emergency powers of the governor, to bring next generation milling to California and focus on the high wildfire risk areas. Here's what you can do. First, you can mitigate the risk to wildfire. So instead of seeing that forest land burn, you could mill, regrow. Second, if you're reducing wildfire risk, you can bring down. 3, if you have a set aside in the exchanges, if we're going to allow you to do this, there's a set aside for the soft lumber to go to construction costs in California, because right now it's being imported from Washington, Oregon, or imported from Canada, or shipped in from Washington, Oregon, Idaho. And then 4, what if we could create a new jobs industry in a state that needs to do anything if we can make it safe? And my goal, as I said, to just lower the cost. Okay. They know me too well. Jesse.
Sure. It's not good. Sacramento political writers George Skelton and Dan Walters have both written columns stating that if all 9+ Democrats stay in the race, we'll end up with 2 Republicans to choose from in November. How do we prevent that? It scares the heck out of me. And how do we get the low-performing candidates to drop out? If you all gotten together and said, hey, as of March 9th or whenever the filing period is there a deal? Is there an understanding that we're not going to get 2 Republicans to vote for in November? Thank you for your candidacy. Thank you.
Thank you. We're not going to let that happen. I'll tell you, Nancy Pelosi, who is kind of like my work mom, she always says that winning is a decision. And when the Padres or the Rams take the field, or the 49ers, they've made the decision to win. I've made the decision to win, but I've made the decision first to show up. And that's the goal of doing these town halls, is to separate from the rest of the candidates, all who I know and have great respect for, who are running. We are fortunate right now that since I've gotten in the race on November 20, we've been polling at the very top and increasing in each poll. But over this week, thank you, there was an independent voters poll. And this is where I have hope that a model that was just released by Paul Mitchell, who's the top data scientist in California, he did 1,000 simulations and found that only 6% of the time with the current field would there be 2 Republicans that get out. And in 75%, I think we are one of the Democrats that get out. But where I have faith in this race is that we continue to grow in the polls. In the betting markets, I guess that's like a thing now with Kalshi and Polymarket, we're at about 50%. But it really is what I'm seeing in Fresno, in San Juan Capistrano. We were there not too long ago. Town halls like this on a Friday night. When you make yourself accessible and accountable, people show up. And we're doing that every single week, all the way until June 2 on the primary. I'm not going to let that happen. And appreciate you asking that. Thank you. How you doing?
Hi, my name is Kate Sam.
Thanks, Kate.
Despite the 49ers thing, I'm gonna let that slide.
It's okay. No one's perfect.
Eagles fan here. Last time it was just-
Okay, you're bitter. You're bitter. Yeah.
I had 1,000 questions as a woman
Yeah.
and as a scientist and as a self-proclaimed feminist. However, my question is going to circle around, I think, what the whole nation is questioning right
Yeah.
now is what are we going to do as people and as a state to protect our citizens and residents? You made comments about ICE, how you're against it. You made comments about working with local law enforcement. But what's happening right now isn't enough. I'm
Yeah.
seeing one career Democrat saying, don't invoke violence. Everybody stay silent. Know your rights, but that's not protecting people. People are still being dragged. We need the city. San Diego is a city. We are whole heritage. The people, they have made racial profiling again. As somebody who isn't white, being in the city, standing up against ICE, when is our local police departments, and this is for the fine police
Yeah.
officers here today as well, when are they protecting the citizens and residents of
Yeah.
the cities that they are sworn
Yeah.
to protect? What they're doing is illegal. How are you supposed to take legal action
Yeah.
against somebody that is masked and will not show their ID? Our state passed a no mask mandate, but they are still masked in our cities. What are we as citizens supposed to do? And I don't want to hear nothing. I don't
Yeah.
want to hear, wait for an east side.
And I know you care about your friends and neighbors. And I have always gone on offense against this guy. So I'd first say, as far as what I can do, look at my record. Impeachments, a manager in the second trial. I testified in Colorado to keep him off the ballot. I was the only member of Congress who did that in that 14th Amendment case. I have the only lawsuit that has survived this new presidency. It's me and the January 6th police officers. I will go on offense against this guy. And as the governor, I'm not going to be helpless. And I've already looked at what powers does a governor have that can send a message? And that's why I said, I'll take away your driver's license. You wear a mask, I'm taking away your driver's license. I also really strongly believe you have to charge them with crimes. And I've talked to a number of attorneys general. Crime, they'll remove it to federal court, and maybe it'll get to there, the president will pardon him. I'm saying, I don't care. If you can charge them with the crime, them react rather than us react. Right now, we're reacting. But I also think what a governor can do and what we all can do, because yes, go to the street, link arms, be loud. And when you're asked, like you just did in Prop 50, go to the ballot box and send a message. But I want to say what I'll do as somebody who comes from a law enforcement family, because your point about local law enforcement, as protectors who tell me over and over, this is not us. But I know what is happening though. They're getting lumped in with family who wear the uniform that someone may not be able to tell the difference, and they think is somebody who worked. In my rhetoric, what I do is I make it clear, ICE is not law enforcement. These are not our local police officers who walk the beat. And if we can separate them, I think we achieve your goal of making local law enforcement understand you're here to protect us.
Law enforcement stand up and protect us. If I'm a citizen, I'm a naturalized citizen.
Yeah.
So if I get attacked by an ICE agent on the street, who does not have jurisdiction to arrest me as a citizen,
Yeah.
who is making false claims of aggression or obstruction of justice, who's making those claims, are police going to step in and protect me? Or
Yeah.
are they going to stand by the side and watch it happen, and people are going to be left to protect themselves? That's what I want to do.
My job as governor is to make sure they protect you. That's my job. Thank you.
If you have to go, Eric line's too hard. So, hold on to it, don't call it up anymore. Give it over to one of the staffers over here at the end, and we'll make sure you get your price. Okay, we're out of price.
Yes, how are you doing?
I'm very sure. Hi, my name is Kathy Komisher. I'm a proud SBA teacher here in San
Thank you.
Diego.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm also a proud IBEW spouse. And I'm here on behalf of labor. Out of curiosity, raise your hand if you're a union member.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Fantastic. Thank you, siblings in solidarity. My question is, how will your administration ensure that California state contracts will prioritize unions, specifically strengthening collective bargaining?
I was that. I went to college on a soccer scholarship. It was not a scholarship. I want to make that. I was a goalkeeper. I broke both of my thumbs. I thought the world was over, and a high school teacher who would later become the political chair of the California Teachers Association, he called me and he said, Eric, the world's not over. I think you enjoyed mock trial and civics and some of the other things that were in between your soccer games, as you saw it. And why don't you start getting involved in politics? He encouraged me to apply for an internship in Washington, D.C. I took it. But when I was home on every break, I worked out of the local IBEW 595 hall on my first city council race, and then on what would then be races, PI, and other offices. My we're excited to be done, but it's been in that hall for the last 10 years. And so I want you to just know, I see unions. My dad was in a police union. My mom was in CA, which is the Classified School Employees Association. I've been on the strike line with teachers before. And so I always support your right to organize and fight for fair pay, working conditions, and retirement. But I want you to know that I understand that the reason unions, particularly state employees, fear for their jobs and benefits is because we have a revenue problem in California. Approximately $18 billion in revenue as far as our shortfall. And I'm thinking about this in every way so that we don't have to cut teachers or people who provide. Learned in Speaker Pelosi's second term as Speaker when I was on her leadership team. It was Donald Trump's final 2 years of office. And she so skillfully picked that guy's pocket in every budget negotiation, every continuing resolution. And I was there at her side. I sat under the rules of the leadership as the chair of the Steering and Policy Committee. I sat right next to her at every leadership meeting. In those negotiations, she would claw back for the country and for California what the years. Hakeem Jeffries, who's going to be the next Speaker of the House, because you did your work on Prop 50, he and I got elected together in 2012. He's appointed me to leadership positions. I will leverage that relationship on behalf of Californians in the near term to say, Hakeem, as the Speaker, you have the power of the purse. We have to do everything possible to get as much back Our best partners on that in California, if you're keeping score, it's going to be Ted Lieu, the only Democrat to get out of the race. I won't take the compete. Marshal all of our political resources to the House to pick up 5 seats in California. Obviously, being in the House addresses the concern here about oversight, accountability, subpoena power. It also means, as I said, helping us with revenue. 2, going to stand up a California research fund, and we're going to invest in California biotech. We're going to ask the best among us in the private sector and the public sector to go abroad as ambassadors for California and seek investments in that fund. Who's the world leader of XYZ country? When I chaired the CIA committee for 8 years, and I will make sure those relationships are California's relationships as we stand up a fund that should not even exist, because we should be able to count on the federal government, where we are a donor state and most others are taker states. But I'm going to do that because we have to do that. 3rd, as it relates to taxes, we're going to restructure the way that we tax corporations. If you have the shortest distance between what the CEO and the C-suite employees make and what the rank and file of the workforce make, people like my mom, you will have the lowest taxes. If you have the longest we will either lift the wages of just thinking about and our brothers and sisters. Holiday, right? New small businesses in the country. If you post revenue, post profit, you've just created revenue. That's how I'm approaching this, is to have count on and bank on. This is not just me sketching this out on the back of a napkin. It's something that I did in the hometown that I grew up in, Dublin. It wasn't all I learned because I played soccer in neighboring communities, because we didn't have a competitive team in Dublin, that they had a nickname for us. And it was my nickname on the team. They called me Scrublin. Scrublin Dublin. It was a place of low income and lower expectations. Exactly going to college. And I had a chip on my shoulder about it. And after college and law school, I came back home. That high school teacher that I talked about a moment ago, he had gotten on the city council. Our hometown is in renaissance, and we're building while everyone else around us has gone no growth. So I was excited to be a part of changing the reputation of the city. And what we did was we worked with builders and developers and labor to build out the city. Affordable housing, workforce housing, market rate housing. Sometimes it made sense. We had an expectation of the developers that a new school, a new firehouse, a new police station, a new senior center, a new library. And for small businesses, we didn't just want fast food restaurants because that's all we had. We're connected to 75. Pretty soon people up when it was safer. Soon, we got Fortune 500 companies. 1999, 25% of us went on to college. Today, 96% of those kids go to college. We even have a Whole Foods, which I think means that you made it if you have a grocery store you can't afford to shop at. Thank you. How you doing, sir?
Good evening, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
So my question is regarding the Democratic Party as a whole and the policy of it's a custom to kick the can down the road.
Yeah.
And just do virtue signaling. You mentioned your intention to strip driver's license from this. So, when the incumbent governor passed the no mask mandate, we knew that it was going to be adhered to. Again, why aren't these actions being taken now? We've been going through this for months. And so it's like always too little, too late.
Yeah.
About being reactionary earlier.
Yeah.
I feel that we're always being reactionary, right? Yesterday we had a rally outside the federal building, and one of the speakers mentioned me from the Bay Area where I'm from, close to the border.
Yeah.
So my whole life I've known too well having a militarized border. Again, our incumbent governor picked up the rhetoric of fentanyl being smuggled through our southern border. This is my problem with the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
I need to see daylight between the party. We live in an industrialized modern nation that has a political duopoly.
Yeah.
Democrats through the Green Party in a handful of states. The Republicans and Democrats aren't getting anything done. So that's what brought us here. I just don't see the problems as being part of the solution, but this is what I keep hearing from the establishment. So
you want show, not tell.
Yes, I'm a veteran myself.
Which branch were you in?
Marine. Since the summer of 1990.
You served in the military and you're not a U.S. citizen.
And luckily I have I'm a permanent legal resident. I have and support housing supported veterans. That. So how can we
I'm not. And well, And so if you harm people in our community, you're going to jail. That's going to be my prerogative as governor. Hire the best lawyer you can afford, because you're going to jail if you harm people in our community. But as I said, it's not just, it's words. It's the only person in this field whose name the president knows of what I've done. The frustration with our party. And it's my frustration because too often I think we like to stand on virtue from Mount Olympus and upset the order of things. And look back, and I just want to give you an example. The Republicans have their Project 2025. And everyone is saying to me, what was your Project 2025? And I told them it was actually Project 2021. Because when Nancy Pelosi was Speaker and Joe Biden was President and we had the Senate, we passed in the House of Representatives. We made abortion in the House of Representatives. Rights Act. And who stopped it from becoming? In our way. And what I submit to you is, what if Democrats hard for things that are popular, that I see Republicans popular, that nobody's asking for? So you will see action from me. And where I have an emergency power to use it, I will use it, because I know who it's on behalf of. That it hasn't been used in ever. Promise.
Thing about federal agents and law enforcement in North Carolina in the mid to early 90s. I was jumped in the barrel of Southern Marines, and I was told that it was a platoon loyalty thing. Again, I know too well as a brown indigenous migrant, when I've been pulled over law enforcement officers, that if I were in one of those rinky-dinky towns in a dark country windy road, I would have probably ended up getting lynched. It has been documented by the FBI that we have a problem in the ranks of our active military reserves with white nationalist supremacists. We have the same thing in law enforcement. The decree, consent decrees from the Barack Obama era, that all been in. We need pragmatic solutions. My life is at stake.
Yeah, thank you, and I get that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming to see. Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, and let me just say, Sean, real quick. Thank you, Sean Van Diver. And real quick, if I could just say, this guy gives us so much. And see, he is a president because he's a terrible person. And we're tired of hearing people chant, "Make America Great Again," when all you want to do is peace again and kind again. Where you can greet somebody at the coffee shop in the morning and say good morning and have no regard for what political party they're in. California has always been a place that has fought for our foster kids, has stood up for women, their right to make their own decisions about their body and their And I just want to tell you what I love is that this country has been remade over and over and over again, and it has always started here. Nobody, I don't know about anyone here, if you're an immigrant or your parents are an immigrant or if your grandparents are an immigrant, but no one came here to be a Democrat or a Republican. They came to be an American. And if they were lucky, they were a Californian. And so that couple I told you about earlier, Eric and Vicky. Eric's my dad. He was my mom. And I said was because my best friend broke my heart a couple months ago when she passed away. And as you know, nobody loves us like our moms. After all, they have a 9-month head start. Left in my house because when my mom passed, it's on her now, her problem. A couple years ago, I was on a flight from San Francisco to Washington before the door closed. I'm feeling pretty good as a boarding announcement. Figure I'll get some good sleep, relax. And then I see a Capitol Police officer walk onto the plane. I said, any chance you... I can never sleep. Great. Articles and news of the day, and she's going through them and she's like looking at actuarial tables. I'm just hoping she dozes off. And I finally, just to like make conversation about something other than like her quizzing me on whatever. Make the next wave for a new. Thanks so much. Yep.